G'day there guys, it's your Aussie hubby Marky and welcome back to another episode of r/relationship advice. Now on today's episode, there's going to be some epic stories that I'm going to read today and you're going to enjoy them. So with that said, I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn to the barbie, and let's get ready for today's epic stories. Let's go. Posted by user Rebel Ellen, titled, "Am I the asshole here for preemptively striking against splitting the bill at a group dinner?" The title says it all, but here's the story. I was invited to a group dinner and decided to go. I usually decline because two couples in this group are freeloaders and they're the split the check type. They order expensive items on the menu, appetizers and cocktails, while I get a moderately priced dish and a Coke. I was told they wouldn't be there this time, and that's why I decided to go. Well, they were there. I didn't bother asking what the story was because it didn't matter. I knew what was going to happen come check time. So I excluded myself, went to flag down a server, and asked if he would please separate my bill from the others. He agreed. When the time came to pay the bill, I handed the server my credit card and paid my bill. I tipped 25%. The freeloaders went, "Oh, I thought we were splitting like we always do." To which I said, "Oh, well, you're bad." But this prompted two other people in the group to ask for separate checks too, which the server happily did. After I paid, I told everyone good night and went on my way. The next day, I got a text from another person in the group. There were 9 total. The 2 freeloading couples and 5 solos. That I was an asshole for doing that. They do normally split the bill, as it gives everyone a chance to have a nice meal that they otherwise couldn't afford. And it also makes splitting the 20% group gratuity easier. I told her that I would not be guilted to staying within my means and not paying for moochers. Then I said the only reason why I came was because I thought that the mooch couples wouldn't be there because they've been doing this for years. Still, I'm being accused of disrupting the group vibe. Did I? I don't think so because of the 2 that also asked for separate bills. In the comments, someone says, "That line about having a nice meal they couldn't usually afford is bullshit." And OP says, "I was like WTF when I read that too, and then I realized she sometimes takes advantage too, though she's not as brazen as the mooch couples. I think she was implying that I could and should take advantage too from time to time. That's not how I roll though. I'm very much pay your own way." OP clarifies that this isn't treating poorer friends to dinner. They say, "That's not what was going on here. We all make good money. These guys are just freeloaders. Zero decorum. Like I said, I only went because I thought they wouldn't be there. I stopped going because I noticed they were freeloaders and my feelings weren't a secret. By the way, when I invite someone out to dinner, I pay the entire bill. The 2 type of people I'd make that offer to are the type that would decline the invitation if it would wound their pride." One more piece of info. We all make roughly the same amount of money. 1. If the suggested restaurant is out of your price range and budget, you decline the invitation. 2. We go to the same restaurant, a Brazilian steakhouse. Everyone in the group likes steak, so it's an easy choice. Further in the comments, Jeepers Creepers says, "Not the asshole. I'm sorry, I always assumed that we were getting together to socialize as friends, not to subsidize meals for other people that cost more than what I have budgeted for myself. If that's the group vibe, then I hereby opt out of the group." The fact that others followed your lead in requesting separate checks shows that you are not the only person who feels this way. They were just looking for someone else to be brave enough to do it first. If I were you, I would contact those 2 and start a new Dutch dinner group. And OP says, "Great idea. I think I'll do that. We always ask for separate checks. Seems like the norm nowadays. If the freeloaders are upset, then too bad. They can order within their means." My wife and I are the ones that always order more than our friends when we go out to eat. When we're in a group setting and splitting the meal, we always offer to pay separate since we inevitably would bring the average up. And when we do split the bill, we always pay more so that the others don't have to pay for my gluttony. Those 2 couples in OP's stories are complete assholes. The same here. I hate splitting down the middle because I do have a second cocktail, appetizer, and dessert when it's a large friends dinner party. Most of us do, so it isn't terrible. but there are always one or two who aren't hungry, don't drink, or opt out of appetizers. I never feel good about the split then. Not the asshole. Quotes, it gives everyone a chance to have a nice meal they couldn't otherwise afford? What the hell is this bullshit? Splitting the bill should happen when everyone else agrees and or when the portions are more or less equal. It's not to subsidize others. What you did was a great way to handle this and a great way to set the tone. Okay, I get the gist of it. There's not really any more unique commentary there. These people just kinda suck. I always find it so unique, though, when there's situations like this and a group of people are more than happy to enable the moochers, and they take personal offense when you try and break the cycle. It's like, no, I love them scamming me. I love being in their presence only when they're scamming me for dinner. It's the best, and you shouldn't do anything about that. But this one's just taking it a step above and being like, you know what, I scam you sometimes, and you never really seem to mind that either. Bro, what are you doing? Let me keep scamming you. What are you talking about? Stop being an asshole and not letting us all scam you. Stop rocking the boat. Keep the boat stable. That's my artistic interpretation of how this situation is playing out in my head, and I stand by it. But anyway, props to you, OP, for breaking the cycle. We love that for you. So yeah, slay, I guess. And now, onto the updates. I forwarded the text to two people who also asked for separate bills. They both were upset by the text and reassured me that I was not the asshole. They said they too were growing tired of the moochers and wish they stood up for themselves sooner. Then one of them said that the group vibe was disrupted when I first stopped coming. Everyone knew why, so it made the mooching the elephant in the room, and his bad for not addressing it out of his need to go along to get along. The other agreed, and then they both said they missed having me there. That made me feel so good. The three of us then reached out to the solo member who didn't ask for a separate check. This person is also the organizer. The first thing she did was apologize to me for poor communication. She admitted they changed their minds about not coming in plenty of time to inform me, but she really wanted me to come. She realized she should have when she saw the look on my face. She said she was tired of the mooching too, but was too much of a coward to say something, which only fueled their "we always do it this way" ammo. She then filled us in on what happened after we left. Turns out the other two separate bills left shortly after I did. Everyone ended up getting separate checks, which made the two mooch couples angry. They justified their mooching the same way the chick in the text did. They have expenses that we don't, and would it kill us to help them have a little bit of joy? Yeah, nah. Not happening, buddy. The four of us are going to start having a new group dinner at a different restaurant. In the comments, Sky Guy says, quote, they normally split the bill as it gives everyone a chance to have a nice meal they couldn't otherwise afford. This doesn't make sense. The meal isn't on a Groupon or anything. The only way someone pays less for their nice meal is if someone, or many someones, on that table grossly overpays. To use that so brazenly as a purported defense? Wow. Even when someone else is footing my bill and I know ahead of time, I'm consciously going cheaper than when I pay for myself. The idea of splurging on someone else's dime just does not resonate. I worked at a company where it was common for the team to go out for lunch at least a couple of Fridays a month. Most of us would pay cash, early 90s, one check, and we would toss in cash, including tip. At some point, the cash would always be short, like $9 to $10 short. We could never figure it out, and most had left to go back to the office. Finally, one of us figured it out. Bob would arrive early and have a few drinks at the bar and have them added to the tab. Then he would only pay for his meal, shorting us. The person who discovered it was his manager. We were never short again. The only time the split the check evenly worked out for a team lunch was when a group of us went weekly to a pizza buffet. Every Wednesday, it was $7.50 with a drink. No disputes about who owes what. Le Fancy Me says, this is particularly disgusting when apparently they had a long history of having part of their meal paid for by their friends. For years, their friends paid for a part of their meal, and it was all good, friendly vibes. Then the moment they fail to treat them to a single time, it's suddenly, Would it kill us to help them have a little bit of joy? As if that isn't what they've been doing for years. That's how you know you need to break off these friendships. These people are ungrateful when they receive anything and offended when they don't. Kindness is wasted on them. Kindness doesn't have to be just for the sake of reciprocation. You don't do kind things with an ulterior motive. However, when you have people in your life who aren't kind to you, it's more than fair to reevaluate whether they are worth keeping in your life. My friends and I always take turns treating each other. We never have to worry about how much each of us is paying because over the years, we've proven to look out for each other and want the best for each other. No one's trying to game the system. Sometimes I'll order a bit more, sometimes they will. But you can only do that with people who have your best interest in mind as well, and aren't just trying to get something out of it. Rusty says, long ago, there was a co-worker at our office who did this, only worse. We work in a huge building with a pretty nice restaurant in the lobby. About every other week, a group would go there for lunch. It was a bit pricey, so we would go when the lunch special was especially good. Every time a group headed out, this one co-worker would attach herself to the group. No one invited her because of her behavior, but she would come anyway. If we escaped before she noticed, she would come to the restaurant after us and then ask to be seated at our table. We really couldn't say no without blowing things up at the office. This restaurant also wouldn't split checks during the rush of the lunch hour, which is one of the reasons why we only went when everyone wanted the lunch special. Made it easy to pay as a group. This woman would conveniently excuse herself to the restroom right before the check came, wouldn't return until the check was paid. We couldn't wait too long because we were all on a clock. She said, "Oh, I missed the check? I'll pay you back." And then she never did. One day, when she left for the restroom, we left the table one by one while she was gone, except for one or two who hung around. When she got back, they told her that since she owed those that left for lunches, she could just cover them for today. She paid, but she never tried to have lunch with us again. Some people are far too comfortable assuming that they can do whatever they want because it would be awkward or unbecoming for others to address their behavior directly. Honestly, we all kind of gave her a pass the first time or two because we suspected she had a deadbeat boyfriend that she was supporting, but she became so blatant that we got pissed. I mean, she would finagle her way in and sit there smiling and eating. No one would look at her or talk to her. It was obvious that we didn't want her there, but she had no shame, no embarrassment at all. Oh, I just got second-hand embarrassment from reading that. Good job figuring out a way to make her pay and stop coming. What a leech. And once again, good riddance to good trash, I say. Where people like this find the audacity is completely beyond my realm of comprehension. I'm glad that this story that we covered didn't go south like some stories do. Although, it's good content when it does, but it's not good for my conscience being like, Christ, we could have been adults in this situation. So, thank God, people were adults in this situation and did the right thing. I can also empathize with not wanting to make a scene, not wanting to cause conflict because I'm very much conflict avoidant myself. I would like to think that in a perfect world, I could be the one to stand up and be like, you know what, I'll just get my own separate check, haha, you guys can do your own thing, I don't want to pay for your meals, but I don't know, I don't think I would. I'm a bit of a shy little Andy. I think that it would take a while, and me getting to the end of my tether, probably not years like OP has dealt with, but maybe a few weeks or months of dealing with things like that before I put my foot down, I'd like to think. I don't know about that. What about you guys? Would you guys do the same? I'm just rambling. Congratulations, OP, for having that titanium spine, though. Thumbs up for that one. And I hope your dinners with your mates go really well in the future, because it's a lovely little tradition to have, catching up with mates for dinner every now and then. Our next post is by user ThrowRA Wife and Friend, titled, "My wife, female 32, recently had wine spilled on her by my best friend, female 31, during our wedding. Now she is demanding that I, male 33, cut ties." Ali and I met through a mutual friend in 2012 during a pub quiz at university. I was quite attracted to her and actually told her so at the end of the evening, but she told me that she had a boyfriend even though she was flattered all the same. Fast forward 3 years later, I meet Eliza at the Edinburgh Fringe and we just clicked immediately. Politics, music, cinema, whatever the subject approached, there was a spark that I'd never felt with anyone else. Like she just made sense with me. Her personality was just vivid. It's hard to describe, but I'll try. On first impression, she was so knowledgeable and enthusiastic, I was taken aback by her intensity. From that point onwards, we were inseparable, and I was dead certain of our future together long before we got engaged. Enter Ali again. I start a new job at an advertising firm with a position in web design, and she was one of the only people that I knew. At first, it was a little bit awkward given our history, especially considering that she was now married to the boyfriend that she was dating back then, but there was no one else that I knew at the firm, and we both had partners at this point, so it couldn't hurt to be friends, right? And to be honest, I'm glad because I feel like our chemistry as friends superseded any potential we might have had as a couple. She's clever and has a bit of a cheeky personality. I'm quite dry and sarcastic myself, so I reckon we have a pretty fun dynamic. Eliza doesn't seem to feel that way though. Sometimes when it's been the three of us, she has expressed a feeling of being left out or that Ali has been making fun of her. I don't see it. It's just our dynamic, but there have been a couple of nights where Eliza has been in tears because of something that Ali has said. One time Eliza got out of her seat and Ali sat down where she was sitting to show me a video on YouTube. When Eliza came back in, she saw Ali leaning next to me and was upset for the rest of the night. Sometimes there have been a few times when Ali has said something that Eliza has read as a come on. Like when I said that I missed swimming because I felt out of shape, Ali said, "Well, the two of us should go together," with a playful punch. Eliza didn't say anything at the time, but her discomfort was visible. Things really came to a head though on our wedding day, and I think the stress of it really got to Eliza. During the reception, Ali bumped into her and red wine spilled all over her dress. She was bawling the entire evening. We're now on our honeymoon, and Eliza has said that she hopes for a fresh start, but she feels like Ali might have spilled her wine on purpose. She's suggesting that I cut ties with her, and if I'm honest, I'm not sure that I want to. Where do I go from here? In the comments, No Yeah Thanks says, "The number of times I've bumped into someone and spilt my drink on them is exactly once in my entire life, and I was a shit-faced teenager. You are either astoundingly naive, or Ali is somehow the unluckiest woman in the world to accidentally spill her red wine on the bride on her wedding day. I think you know which one is more likely. Your wife won't be staying your wife for much longer unless you start actually listening to her and stop dismissing all of her fears as baseless insecurities." OP replies, "Ali was getting a drink from the bar. Eliza had taken off of part of her gown for dining and dancing purposes and was leaving our bedroom to return to our table. They bumped into each other, and Eliza had a huge red stain over her dress. Ali made an offhand joke and then fled, and Eliza ran up to me in bits and pieces. It sounded really bad when Eliza told me, and she was in bits about the wine spilling all over her dress, and I went to Ali and asked her what the hell she was up to. Ali was so mortified and told me that she wanted to sink into a hole. She's dyspraxic and has struggled with falling at impromptu moments. I've actually witnessed it happening before. There was a meeting at work and she gets our colleagues coffee. The moment she came in, she tripped and fell, coffee flying everywhere." Rip Dirtbag says, "Ali bumped into your wife in her wedding dress, spilling wine all over it, and made an offhand joke before fleeing? What kind of response is that?" OP says, "She's a really awkward person and doesn't know how to interact with people sometimes. There have been times that I have been upset with her because of how glib she's been about personal issues." So, someone who has a habit of accidentally saying or doing things that make your wife cry accidentally also managed to spill red wine over her white dress on the biggest day of her life, and you don't think that that's at all suspicious? If you knew, and imagine here that you somehow knew for certain that she had done it on purpose, what would your reaction be? Would it change how you thought about her? Give it some thought. OP says, I would be really hurt if Ali was doing it on purpose. I love Eliza and want us to be happy, and I can see that I've really effed up here multiple times. Ali is a good friend, but if she's deliberately being a wind-up merchant and harming my marriage, then I'll have to cut the cord and stop chumming up to her so much. Sorry, wind-up merchant is so funny. Anyway, Eliza sometimes says to me that she can intuit people's opinions and feelings within minutes of meeting them. I've never been like that. My folks have always said that I'm terrible with picking up on basic things. I was at an aunt's house when I was a kid, talking her ear off, and she said, "Oh, it's getting late," multiple times. It was only until my mum dragged me out that I picked up that she wanted me to leave. Symbol Farron says, it really sounds like you're putting your friend first. No wonder your wife is unhappy. She comes back in tears from hanging out and you still invite Ali to the wedding? What was that conversation like? OP says, she got really upset one time during banter because Ali and I like to roast each other regularly, and Ali roasted her a little too hard, I guess. We were singling out things to insult each other on, and the subject went to Eliza, and Eliza mentioned that she had webbed feet. Since then, Ali's called her Leapfrog. When I say it, Eliza takes it in good stride, but when Ali says it, it's a massive problem. I don't get it. Eliza suggested that Ali's being serious when she says it, as opposed to when I do, but she roasts me the same way too. She said that I looked like a juggalo's poodle that day because I was wearing baggy metal clothes and hadn't styled my hair, so it was frizzing all over the place. Why haven't you stuck up for your wife all those times that Ali's hurt her? OP says, I guess because I didn't know that I needed to? It seems like it's a perspective thing. Eliza is a passionate person who cries at deluxe puppy adverts, and the intensity is great for a partner, but it can cause problems with friendships. She reads a lot into things that her friends do, thinking that it's intentional, and when she talks to them about what they did, they will be completely shocked and unaware that they hurt her. Ali is a very sarcastic person in general, who rolls with the punches, and to me it reads like they struggle to gel, rather than intentional cruelty on Ali's part. But for what it's worth, Ali has told me that she's really keen on Eliza, and thinks she's a top girl. Yeah, I know, before you come at me, I know her name's Ailey. Weird English people names, alright? I was just so deep into the reading that I didn't realize that it was Ailey. I'm not changing it, I don't care. Call me a wind-up merchant all you want, okay? Call me a juggalo's puppy all you want, I do not care. I think there are several ways that we can interpret Ailey's behavior and OP's kind of processing of everything. I think OP has very much spelled out the fact that they are very much unaware of a lot of things in general. Their history with Ailey and willingness to foster a good relationship with them has put blinders on. You can see so many accidents and things that are red flags, I'd say. I call them red flags. Happening in front of your face continuously that can it's upsetting your wife to an even higher degree every time, and you're like, she's just clumsy, that's just how she is, she'll be right. Eliza, chill out, she's just a wind-up merchant, you know, it's not that deep. Stop crying on your wedding day. It was just a funny little joke. I know she spilled red wine on your dress and ran away. It's just a joke. It was all just a joke. She didn't mean it. What kind of denial concoction are you sipping, OP? Because that's probably the strongest strength that I've ever seen on these stories. I don't know how you can continue to defend Ailey in this situation. She has gone above and beyond to be outlandish towards your wife. That's just my opinion, though. And we all know that I know two things in life. Mr. Jack and Mr. Shit. Call me as non-self-aware as OP in this situation, but I think that he needs to cut Ailey off. Or just very low contact with Ailey and not hang out with her with your wife. But even then, that might be a bit troublesome. Don't know what to do, but the damage has been done, and good luck reversing any of the damage and making it right, because this... Ooh, buddy, that sucks for you, man. And now, onto the updates. You know, I posted here recently looking for guidance on how to deal with my wife's anxiety and hurt revolving around my friend, and seems like I got read the riot act. Probably rightly so, he says as he's scratching his head like an anime character.
It didn't go so well.
I have been completely inconsiderate of Eliza's feelings and how she feels about these roastings, and you alerted me to the possibility that Ailey is doing this just to be a little shit. I sat down with Eliza, and we had an in-depth conversation about the wedding incident. I got her to describe the event step by step in her own words. She says, I was leaving the lobby in the dining venue, and Ailey was a little tipsy at this point, and already stumbling from the bar. She was initially walking slower, but seemed to speed up when she saw me. We collided into each other, and she pulled an ashamed face and made a joke about me looking like Rosamund Pike in Gone Girl before scurrying away. She seemed embarrassed in the moment, but she didn't apologize to me. It's playing out like a little anime scene.
Oh, golly gee, sorry about that. By the way, did I tell you look like Rosamund Pike from Gone Girl? Anyway, gotta bounce.
I heard from other people that she was appalled about what happened, but I never heard anything from her directly. It just paints a picture of habitual microaggressions from her that has festered into this ugly anxiety whenever she's around. I pretty much predict whenever I'm in her vicinity that there will be weird behavior or uncomfortable moments, and I don't want to continue being in a situation where my husband brings someone into my home who resents me simply for existing. That was a real gut punch to me. For me, I always felt like it was just insecurity about me fancying Ailey for 10 minutes yonks ago, but Eliza is really torn up about this. She said that the honeymoon has been miserable because the memory has been swirling around in her mind, and she feels like I'm gonna downplay or dismiss it. No one should feel like they can't just be themselves, especially not at home. I didn't realize what a shithead that I'd been, and I apologized profusely to Eliza and decided to phone up Ailey to confront her about the wedding incident. So I did it, and it didn't go well. Basically, I told her that Eliza was really hurt by the wedding dress incident, that she had been hurt by her behavior for a long time, and that if she can't bring herself to apologize to Eliza's face, at least she should pay towards getting the stain removed. And if she couldn't bring herself to even do that, then our friendship had to stop. To say that Ailey was taken aback would be an understatement. She was completely blindsided, asking what was wrong with their interactions that made me want to go to such extremes. I mentioned the leapfrog comment, and she went, "But even you call her that," stating that Eliza called her Garfield because of her weight and bright orange hair. When I mentioned that she ran towards Eliza and didn't apologize for spilling wine on her, she got really upset and started shouting that she wasn't running at her to hurl wine at her dress. She was running from her because she didn't want to talk at that moment because she feels like Eliza hates her and she doesn't know how to go about it. She started pointing out times when Eliza had been funny towards her, and I basically said, "Right, but this isn't about when Eliza has hurt you. This is about when you've hurt Eliza, and it's gotten so bad that it needs to be talked about." And she started laughing. It was really uncomfortable. I know she does this when she's anxious about something. Eliza asked me if things were okay from the other room, and Ailey demanded to know if this was a setup, and when I tried to explain myself, she hung up. Her husband even phoned me, insisting that he would pay for the damage if it is less stressful for me. I told Ewan, the husband, that I appreciated that, but I needed to know where Ailey stood regarding what I just said. Ewan told me that Ailey makes jokes whenever she's anxious or uncomfortable, and that they have rowed about it in the past, but the wedding dress incident is a major issue, and that he wants to smooth things over as much as I do. So him and Ailey will pay towards dry cleaning, whilst a condolences hamper is sent to Eliza. Eliza was relieved that Ewan was so understanding, but she wasn't thrilled about Ailey's reaction. Basically said that the Garfield comment was always about her hair and never about her weight, and that she was deliberately trying to make it seem like the bad behavior went both ways. I don't think it's went both ways either, because I've never noticed Eliza roasting Ailey in any real way. Eliza has suggested that we try marriage counseling. I was a bit shocked at first because we've only been married for a month, lol. But I decided maybe that's the way forward, because if Eliza reckons that we need counseling for it, then it's clearly a problem. So yeah, Eliza and I are going to try marriage counseling, and my future with Ailey is uncertain. In the comments, Seeking Beskar says, I remember seeing your post and responding to several of your comments. Don't you think that it's really odd that your friend, after ruining someone's wedding dress, made a joke like that? People don't usually think of things like that right after doing something that bad. For Ailey to then paint a picture of being appalled for other people, but to not show your wife that or offer your wife an apology? It's really not that hard to see that Ailey has no respect for your partner. Literally none. I don't even understand why Ailey is still a part of your life at all. Who remains friends with someone who repeatedly makes their partner cry? You're not really gonna believe someone behaving normally in this situation would be blindsided by your call, right? You would expect a call about cleaning a dress, if anything, or you yourself would be making a call to apologize. I think it's quite clear that Ailey was blindsided because she feels like she can get away with this shit. How do you spill red wine on someone while running away from them? Her story doesn't even make sense. Your future with Ailey is uncertain? Cut the cord before this ends your marriage. Keeping someone around who ruined your wife's experience of her wedding day? Who you recognize has actively hurt your wife? And there's not a chance that happened unknowingly? Someone who is literally trying to tell you the woman she was bullying makes her uncomfortable. What a terrible idea. Clown in a Circus says, quote, I don't even understand why Ali is still a part of your life at all. Who remains friends with someone who repeatedly makes their partner cry? Seriously, I read that in the first post and immediately did a double take. Do you even like your partner? Why are you friends with someone who constantly makes fun of her to the point where she cries? Even Ewan thinks his wife's behavior wasn't okay. I'm somewhat bewildered that that marriage has survived. Yeah, if Ailey's habits of making awkward jokes when she's embarrassed, read when she's done something embarrassing to someone else, is not limited to Eliza, then her husband is a very patient man. Having a spouse that makes awkward jokes, which seems to be a very nice way to put hurtful, malicious comments, must be really difficult, especially during family gatherings or work functions. The anxiety of not knowing what asshole thing is going to come out of your husband or wife's mouth sounds like hell. Absolutely. I've no idea how Ali got that guy to marry her, if she's always like this. I mean, I like a good banter, sure, but there's a time and a place, and you do it with your own friends who are into this, not with your friend's spouse. Sky Guy says, quote, Eliza and I are going to try marriage counseling, and my future with Ailey is uncertain. If he's still uncertain, then he really needs the counseling. Ailey is a snake. Oh, you guys, that's just how Ailey is. We can't hold her accountable because, you know? I used to use humor to deflect or when things were uncomfortable. I thought that I was lightening situations and not making it weird. Thankfully, a friend from high school spoke with me privately and kindly and told me that it sometimes comes across as insensitive. Like, I get it. Sometimes I'm still that kid who is absolutely terrified inside and I want to crack a joke so badly. I have learned to listen, fight the urge, and say with sincerity, I'm sorry, that wasn't my intention, but I understand now that it was hurtful, thoughtless, and shocking. I won't do it again. Ailey needs to stop being coddled, and OP needs to stop being an effing idiot. That's where I think I'll end with that one. I agree wholeheartedly. I would hope that those of us that crack jokes in absolutely terrible situations do get to that point where we do listen, we do fight the urge, and we are sincere with our apologies. I know I've struggled with that in the past before because, conflict avoidance and hard to diffuse situations sometimes, huh? To me, it sounds like OP and Ewan are very much enablers in this situation, and perhaps both of them are just so thick-skulled that they don't even realize that Ailey's behavior is a problem. I don't know how it's possible. I want it to be impossible, but unfortunately reality is stranger than fiction, and maybe this whole time it's just been a bit. OP is just a wind-up merchant, because I want that to be much more of a reality than him just being an absolute nitwit. He's English, come on, we've
I don't know where I was going with that one. Sorry, English people. But yeah. Marriage counseling, absolute must. He's yet another victim of the counseling's actually to fix problems, not to maintain a healthy relationship. No. This is a very good time, actually. Maybe marriage counseling a few months ago, but marriage counseling now, very good idea, OP. I highly recommend it. I wouldn't know, because I haven't been to marriage counseling before, but I've read on Reddit that it's pretty good, so take my word for it. Anyway, guys, that's where I'm going to end today's episode. I do hope you enjoyed. If you did, let me know what you thought of it in the comments down below. Get me out of this Kosovan jail cell, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.